What's up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of the MLO Project. And today, my friends, we have a guest. And before we got on, I was thinking, like, we've had some awesome guests on here, and we're just going to keep that streak going today, right? No pressure to our guests at all, no pressure. But we're gonna, we've had some players, and I'm gonna kick it over to Michael to let him kind of run with it because he's the one that connected with our guest. But my friends, look, if this is your first time here, what took you so long, right? Welcome. We hope you stay around. For those that are returning, thank you for being big supporters of what we're doing here with our podcast. As you know, growth is a project, and everything that we're doing now and going forward is all about putting one foot in front of the other and doing what you can to create a awesome business. And guys, look, I did a little research on our guest before, and one thing I like in general in the mortgage industry is working and connecting with operators, right? Like I love operators, people that actually just go in and do the work. And so I think you guys are going to love today's episode. And with that, I am going to introduce and then kick it over to my co-host, who has already told me that he's got hurt feelings from my intros from all the other episodes. So I'm going to be nice to him on this one. But he's really, Michael's such a nice guy. He's such a good husband, good father, good CEO, just one of the nicest guys you're ever going to meet in this episode. And that is my co-host, Michael McAllister. Michael,
what's up, dude? Thank you. That was
that good? That make you feel good?
Awesome. That was
awesome. Give you the nice tingles and everything.
You should practice that and keep going with it.
One time only, man. One time only. I got a migraine now. All right, cool.
My skin's burning.
My skin is burning, and I got a migraine. So yeah, kick us off, bro. Like, tell me how do you connect and introduce our guest?
Yeah. We the MLO Project is getting a little bit more active on social. Part of that has been we started an Instagram page recently, and I don't spend a ton of time on social, as Frazier likes to remind me of a lot, because I have almost like I go through spurts. I have a presence.
My mom is on social media more than Michael is. So let me just put it that way. My 70-year-old mom is
worst digital marketer ever.
Seriously.
So spent a little bit more time on Instagram, and in the process of doing that, I came across Abdel's profile. Got Mortgages is his brand, which I thought was cool because he uses that Got Milk font that we've done in the past. Empower's done with like the Got Leads, and we've got like a Got Loans t-shirt that we've given out before too. So the Got Mortgages, I was drawn to that. And then also like just the more I kind of surfed around and saw like there was just like cool tool, like nice touch, cool tool after cool tool, as far as like, almost like a link tree style thing on your page. And then the CTAs were strong. And so just like that's ultimately what draws my attention as a marketer. And so did a little bit of digging and reached out, and it was great to connect, and really excited to have Abdel on the page. The other thing that I noticed, I think Frazier noticed it too, is like one of the first things that we saw on the site was like, damn, this dude's yoked, dude. And so, anyways, between the like production and your mortgage background, and then the quick conversation we had, it just seemed like it would be a really good fit to bring you onto the show and have you talk a little bit about your background. And so, anyways, before we jump into that though, man, how are you doing, dude? What's going on today?
I'm good, blessed. Like I said, whenever this comes out, but we're shooting this towards end of month. So it's one of those, I'm sure all of us are in there, right? You're putting out fires, you're diving in. We've got a phenomenal team. Our operations team is hands-on. LOAs are great. Processors are great. But, no matter what, we want to deliver that hands-on customer service. I think one of the biggest things I've seen, and that's allowed us to take a lot of market share, is general professionals, as they get bigger and busier and stuff, that baton is handed off. And there's no consistent communication, where there's that lapse of, wait, dude, like, you introduced me to your LOA or your processor. Where are you? Like, why is the processor asking me for seasonings of bank statements and stuff like that? So we truly stay hands-on with that expectation, where communication is established. You're going to know what's going to happen. All parties are on a text message, chain and an email chain. So there can never be a lapse of, hey, I don't know what's happening. I told them you could literally punch me in the face and I won't get mad until a real estate agent emails and says, hey, what's going on? because that drives me batshit crazy. Right. And we crank away. I've got a phenomenal team of loan officers, right? I'm a branch manager out of Jersey. So it's always keeping them hyper focused, hyper consistent. We just got back. We were in Huntington Beach last week for our leadership conference with PRMG. So that was cool, right? We were actually the keynote speaker there, along with Eric Levin with Model Match, who's awesome. And my whole background is always very heavy tech, right? So tech, obviously, all of us are in the wave of AI right now. It's allowed us thoroughly to use it more efficiently. We're adapting it a lot more in our business, but we're all business owners, right? So from a revenue perspective, it's allowed us to cut back on costs, become that much more faster and efficient, right? I mean, ChatGPT processors are using it for LOEs. We're using it to calculate Schedule E income with screenshots and training it. We've got custom ChatGPTs, ascotmortgages.com. So we're training our clients to use it, our partners to use it, our LOs to use it. That way we keep our processors hyper-focused on submission, resubmission, and kind of take it from there.
Hey, guys, look, I said he was an operator. He got into like what he was doing before. He didn't even introduce himself, didn't even say what company he was with. He was right into like, this is what I do. This is how I get down and dirty. I love it. And hey, PRMG, great partner. KP's my dude, right? Paul over there. Those are my guys. And so that's awesome, man. It's good to hear. So I'm excited to see where this goes.
Yeah, I mean, listen, that's my intro, right? What do you want me to tell you? All right, we're top 1%, Scotsman Guide, NARP top 50, all that stuff. Nobody gives a shit. Right,
loan officers do, because they love that all day long. Well, not all loan officers, but that's the stuff, right? Like they could hear all the time, but they're like, I got to do my sleuthing. I got to make sure I get on Model Match or Redder. I got to see if this guy, should I listen to this guy because like, is he doing like 17 units a minute or what, right? So, but that's good, man. I love it. That's what I'm saying. I love it, dude.
And it's funny you said that, right? I share the wealth with my loan officers, where we build the model, obviously, like co-originators. So my co-originators go in the front. Mm-hmm. At the end of the day, we're business owners, right? So it's recruit, retain, and revenue. So I'm going to recruit the loan officers, I'm going to retain my loan officers, and I'm going to look for revenue. I don't care if my name's on the 1003 or not. Frankly, I want the LO's name on the 1003. I want the videos of them to go on the 1003. So if my production looks low, I don't really give a shit. At the end of the day, I know how much money is in my bank. I know how much powerful conversations and collaborations I'm having with my referral partners, and that's what I care about, right? And frankly, it's less recruiters calling me, so I'll take that all. But it's really that. I mean, listen, taking a couple steps back, right? PRMG, I've been with them for 7 years, 2018, only company I've ever been with. Nice. So it just speaks again to the rhetoric of the hands-on approach. KP and I are constantly collaborating and going on calls and jumping on with new tech vendors and partners and stuff. Paul and I are always busting each other's chops as to who's bigger. So it's that like real authenticity, right? And I'm sure there's phenomenal companies out there, but I've never had to once turn around and look backwards and, as maybe sometimes do, right? You get led with a sign-on bonus and then you look at it and you're like, dude, my pricing sucks. Well, it came from somewhere, right? And that's been it, right? We crank away. I'm in the Jersey market. Obviously, like every loan officer, I lend throughout the entire nation, right? But Jersey and PA happens to be our backyard. East Coast is obviously super, super hot. I mean, it is typical supply and demand. There are not a lot of houses out there. Demand is just red hot. Whenever this goes out, right, it's in September 2025. Fed just cut last week, which means interest rates went up. So all of my clients who I locked previously, the call the following day was, hey, I'm so happy that we locked, although the Fed cut, interest rates went up. And their first inclination is like, wait, I thought my rate's going to get better. Well, not necessarily. And let me explain to you why. And then we start getting into it kind of from a high level, but dummied down as to like, well, it was factored into the rate. Mortgage-backed securities now are starting to tick up a little bit, vice versa, and taking it from there.
So where is your business coming from right now, right? Like you're talking about these client conversations. Does it like your social presence is massive? Is that where you get a lot of your business or
so
like what does that look like?
I did a breakdown. I also run like a mastermind called the Elevated Alliance. It's about 24 different business owners. It's constantly getting bigger and bigger and bigger. There's probably like 40 of us, but consistently per meeting, we do it in person. I do it smack in the middle of the day too, purposely, right? We're not going to do 7 a.m. like your typical other organizations where you're running around and then your wife's bitching and why you're not dropping the kids off, right? I do it in the middle of the day purposely because I want that business owner who, if you're going to sit there and we're going to collaborate, I want you to be like, dude, I can stop in the middle of the day to look to entertain further relationships and further business, right? So going back to my point, I actually ran a sourcing, like where all my business came from within the last 3 years. I'm going to actually pull it up because it allowed me the ability to kind of be like, all right, this is where I need to double down. You guys will see I'm a stickler for tracking every single goddamn KPI there is, from sales, service, support. So sales, whether it's lead generation, where my leads coming from, what's contact established, what's no contact established, what's pre-approved, what's not pre-approved, what actually got an offer accepted, what clients shopped me post offer acceptance, and then post closing, what's my referral basis after that? Am I getting a refi? Am I getting the brother, mother, sister, cousin? You start having fun with it. And then now with AI, it's actually allowed me to automate it even further to be like, hey, this is my lead list. This is where the referral partner came from, and help me track it. And that's what we did, say, about 2 months ago. So 41% of my business initiated from a realtor, right? So obviously they all had a realtor, but 41% came from, hi, my name is John Doe with ABC Realty, and here's my mortgage guy, the gorilla, which everybody calls me. He's going to help you guys out, right? And then 16.7% came from past clients, right? So it was either refi, which will probably transition a little bit higher now with the market transitioning. I've always been about a 90% purchase business, 10% refi. I'm sure that metrics may probably shift a little bit, but I'm always purchase money heavy. Refis are going to come. I don't sit there and purchase refi leads because it's not my model, right? I'm not going to sit there and just shoot myself in the foot and make 100 basis points for the whole pot, right? I would rather stay value driven and kind of allow that to kind of reciprocate back. You laugh at this metrics. Only 13.9% of my business comes from social. So it's funny, the average consumer looks at us and like, oh, you just does social media. And that was a lot of first partners' first inclination. I'm sure by the end of this call, you'll probably have that same feeling. Social for me is just a bait, right? Mm-hmm. It's like, damn, this guy is, or gal is consistent with their content. They're doing what they're doing. Let me give them a shot. Let me shoot a lead like this. Hey, would you like to jump on the pod? And then once you start seeing a little bit of how regimented and systemized and disciplined, just like going to the gym, right? When I was in Cali last week, I was all screwed up, like sleep schedule wise, right? You're getting back to the room because you're a degenerate at 1 o'clock in the morning after drinking. And then that's when I wake up. I'm a 4 a.m.er. So I literally, when I was supposed to wake up, getting in the room maybe 2-3 hours in, it's probably 4 o'clock that time, which is 7 o'clock Jersey Eastern. Mm-hmm. And I'm waking up and going to the gym. And it was funny. One of the sales managers that out there, he's like, dude, every single time I would go to the gym, there was a competition as to who's going to beat Abdel to get to the gym first, right? But it was like the top producers. I mean, the ones who are like the top 10, 20 with PRMG were the ones in the gym, right? And it starts from that discipline, right? So if you can master that and allow social media to social sell for you before you walk in a room, after you finish a networking meeting, the average consumer is going to be like, who is that big fuck who was just talking super loud? I just got a really obnoxious car. You guys might have seen. It was a Tesla Cybertruck, all wrapped up. They're like, who is this? And then they meet you, and then it's just maybe just an entertaining conversation, right? Yep. To have. And then that just opens the gateway into, my thoughts, obviously, operations first, sales second, right? Rather than most of us who are initial loan officers and stuff, it was like, dude, I could sell. Forget running an LOE or forget running credit and this and that. I talked to the client. He's good. And before you knew it, right, there's child support, there's alimony, there's this, there's that you as a loan officer didn't ask. And it was funny. I didn't know. So I got into the business 2018. I went nose deep end of 2019, December of 2019, which was a huge shift. My wife gave birth 2 months ago. And I was like, holy fuck, I'm about to go into this 100%. I came from a law background. I was actually going to law school. Then I had our daughter, who's now 13. So I shifted back to a law firm, worked there for a few years. So it kind of helps from the structure perspective and stuff. Mm-hmm. But we're Jersey dudes, right? We're Jersey Shore. What's up? What do we got? How do we get this? How can I sell the ice to the Eskimo? What can we get done, right? So it's kind of a combination between that. But going back, almost 20% of my business, 19.4%, came from either personal people that I knew or networking. So networking is a huge thing where I'm not the kid who's sitting behind a computer screen and shooting content and doing fancy green screens that nobody gives a shit about. It's going face to face, shaking your hand, collaborating with you. We do a lot of community events. I pick a charity once a month, and we actually get all the business owners from the Elevated Alliance and the networking that we have called 3Cs. And we're collaborating and we're investing back into the community, right? Whether it's food banks, whether we're running a coat drive right now, whether it's just doing one for our veterans, right? We just had like a AUSA, which is like a dog, training that you actually get to sponsor a dog and give it to a vet who needs the help. Nice. So it's cool stuff like that where we're not just mortgage related. Hey, I got you with a 5.99% interest rate and stuff. It's that stuff is going to come, right? And then almost 5% of my business, 4.6% came from the gym. So all I wear is Got Mortgages shirts, or I'm the mortgage guy. So people see that. And then again, they follow you. They say, what's Got Mortgages? GotMortgages.com takes you to us. We have the call to actions right there. And then a big one, which has been a huge push, 3.7% came from financial advisors. And I would probably say that metrics might seem small, but I only started hyper focusing on that probably within the last like 10 months. So once NAR came about with the commission lawsuits, I was like, holy shit, a majority of our business is going to potentially, almost a quarter of the pie is going to go away, right? So we started honing in on financial advisors, and what do they want? Somebody who could talk authentically, somebody who is going to understand the consumers. My background I went to school for political science, then I did my master's in risk and compliance. So you can have educational conversations with those clients who had higher net worth. And they knew I was the first one to be like, you know what? I might be able to make 3.5 margin or 4.5 margin or whatever it is, but this is a client coming from a referral partner. I'm okay with only making 1.5. The volume is there, the system is there, we keep tight expenses, and financial advisors see that, right? And they know the rates that their clients are getting, they know the experience that the clients are getting. So it's easy handoffs, right? And a lot of those financial advisors have individual advisors under them, right? So I'm going after the owners of wealth management firms, from New York Life to hyper-local financial advisors who also want training for their advisors. So I've got some of these advisors coming to our office, and we're going over the same stuff that I could teach to my loan officers is more or less the same stuff I could teach to any sales professional, right? Time blocking, operations, systems, all that, and we kind of take it from there. So I knew I kind of went on a tangent, but when somebody asked me on sources and stuff, I'm like, I know exactly what it is, and I want that 41% realtor to actually get more condensed, right? Because if I can make it smaller, as opposed to your typical LO is probably like 60-70% realtor.
Yeah.
So if you stop paying that realtor's Zillow bill, or if you stop paying the realtor's lunches and stuff like that, and they find some other shiny toy who does that, your business is crushed, right? And that's kind of our main focus of collaborating with the referral partner, and then obviously letting them hand off the realtor the relationship, and us making them look good while we look good too. So,
yeah, I can't hear your audio, Mike.
Damn it, not again.
There you go.
Now?
You're good. There you go. You're good. Yep.
I have one follow-up question to that. That was awesome. That was gold. The question I have is, you expressed a small percentage directly correlated to social. So is that like directly attributed to social? So is that percentage like cold prospects that just hit you up via social,
right.
And then but social very obviously like is integrated to your entire strategy, and you're saying it amplifies every other one of those pillars, every other like place you're getting business from, because you talked about how even your gym at 5%, like part of your funnel is that they're going to like look at, oh, what's Got Mortgages, what's Got Mortgages, they go to social, they check it out, and it's like solidifying everything. So can you speak to like the importance of what, like, for somebody that's watching this, that's investing in social, and they're not seeing that direct attribution, they're not seeing enough business come. And honestly, this is to me, we were just joking about how I'm not active on social at all, or like I might be for a week or two and then I go ghost. Like, Can you speak to the effect and like why that's still something you invest so much into, despite the fact that like there's not a lot of direct attribution there?
Yeah, I mean, listen, social sells for you, right? So when you're at a networking event, you probably got maybe 15, 20 minutes while you're collaborating with a partner, you're getting a drink, you're grabbing food, stuff like that. But I know for a fact, like, I've got LinkedIn Premium, so I know that they're going back and searching on you, right? I also know simultaneously that our approach, actually, even our sales strategy is SCTE. So it's social media first. So friend request them on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn, then call, then text, then email, right? A lot of professionals usually path of least resistance is email, then text, then call, then social, right? If they're even doing social, right? So social is definitely, I would say, the integrated part where it does those connections for you, where you can see it. I'm a firm believer in mixing everything too, right? Nobody wants to just see the just closed, offer accepted, home buying seminars, this, that. They want to get to know you personally. They want to get to know that, you're active in your kids, lifestyles, or if you even have kids, or if you like to ride a boat, or if you like to do this, or if you like to do that, right? They like to see that, this is a guy who goes to the gym. At least that's my goal. So he's probably disciplined in terms of staying consistent, with his business plan and stuff, right? But if you've seen some of my videos, I'm sure you probably saw like some of my old videos where I was always decked out in a suit and a fancy thing. Some of the old ones where I looked like I was 100 pounds. I've been shooting content since 2017. No, I'm sorry, 2018. So it was always important for me. Even when I was working at the law firm doing origination part-time, I would literally finish at 5, drive to my office at the time, and shoot content. And I would bring about 3 to 4 different suits and shoot it one time. We had a production partner, and they would basically shoot the content. You go, you change the tie, take the tie off, change the suit, change the jacket, and then shoot the content. And whether it got traction or not, that's not the purpose. Can I invest more traction into it? Can I get more people to view my stuff? Sure. I need to first build a strong infrastructure of the yielding of the calls, of the actually advertising. We do a lot of obviously social media ads and not the boosting, because I personally haven't seen an ROI from it. I think Instagram has been penalizing me for not boosting ads, because I just somehow magically end up cut at 400 views. And then the second I spend a couple bucks, boom, I'm at 1,000. But I think the partners see that the consistency behind shooting the content with the video, with the Monday market update consistently, sharing what happened the prior week, sharing what's the expectation this week, short 45 seconds of what happens. You got to shoot the content, set it and forget it. Right. And then I guarantee you'll see that return. I started doing a lot more carousel posts as opposed to short form content video, just because I started seeing Instagram pushing it more. So literally almost 75% of my views came from short form content, carousel content. So I'm like, all right, well, I'm going to shift that this month, and then maybe slowly, gradually still shoot at least a minimum of 5 to 6 videos, but then maybe focus a little bit more on the carousel and post, because I'm noticing that it's gaining more traction rather than the videos that I'm actually doing with, sound and stuff. So, but comes back to tracking the KPIs, right? Of how many people are actually doing, what's working, what's not working. Do I tag someone to collaborate? So now I'm introduced to their networks. Now they're seeing my stuff, and now I'm getting more traction throughout, and then kind of taking it from there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, dude. Like, I was gonna say, don't worry about going on a tangent, man. Like, again, these these episodes aren't about like Michael and I yapping. They get plenty of that. It's about bringing on cool people that talk about that. And as a coach, everything that you're saying, I'm like, oh, I just want to package all of that up, and just like hit, some of my people in the face with it, because there's a lot of that stuff. But like, it's the tracking is so important. Right. And I'm glad you didn't like just say like, I do all this stuff and it gets, but like, no, it's so fun. And this too, right? Like, especially if you're running masterminds and stuff like that. So many people think in their head, they know where their business is coming from until they look at the data and they realize, holy shit, like it wasn't coming from that. Oh, this one agent, that's like my buddy. I love them. We'd go to death. Like that's my top agent. Like, oh no, he's like number 8 on the list. Right. Like I get from people that are like, sometimes like, no joke. Sometimes they'll be like, yeah, like I get most of my business from one agent that I barely talk to. And it's just like, you don't love. And so if you're not measuring that stuff, you don't know where your business is coming from. You don't know what to change. You don't know how to optimize or enhance what's working. So I love that you focused on that piece of it and always come back to the tracking, because that's all outcome, right? Like it's all what you're putting out there on social, the outbounds that you're doing, whether it's text, email, calls, and you're 100% right. Most people are like, hey, it's super simple to like shoot an email. That's why I like to not give choices, because the human's going to always choose whatever like what they want to do and what's comfortable, as opposed to like what's actually going to be uncomfortable and probably actually give you the more effective result. Right. And so, yeah, all of everything that you're talking about is cool. And I like, it's, you know, like you have your brand, you're in the gym, you're doing that. But you know, the one thing that I want to pull into is, and then let me know if this has been a thing for you. But like when I always talk to loan officers about social media, I said, look, sometimes like, and you kind of mentioned it when you're like looking at LinkedIn, is that like is when, you know, whether it's a referral from an agent, and I actually just had this with my students, they're like, look, if I hadn't done what you said to be like actually out there and putting content to have like some commonality, because she came back and said, look, these people were referred to me by an agent, but they didn't just say like, all right, cool, I'm going to use you. They actually went out and looked at her social and stuff like that, and they really liked her as a person, and they're like, all right, cool, like we think she's cool, so like we want to work with her. And I think that's what you're referring to, is like, hey, they may not be like a direct, like, hey, they found me on social media. They may come somewhere else, but then they see that go out, because, you know, consumers research everything now, right? And then they see that and there's commonality. It's like, oh, you know, look, I'm from Jersey. That guy's from, oh, awesome. He talks like I talk, right? He looks at life like I like. Oh, he works out. I love to work out. You got to create that commonality, because at the end of the day, the know, like, and trust is a real funnel, right? But you just have to know how to leverage it every step. And it looks like you're doing that amazingly.
Appreciate it. Yeah, it's finding that balance too, right? We're you know, being so techy, and then you want to get tight with them on that, but the root causes, you can't forget, we're all humans. So I need to find out first, where am I going to click heavily with the consumer? Social's going on the background, tech is in the background, but I'm not afraid to pick up the phone and problem solve, right?
Yep.
Not afraid to pick up the phone and be like, hey, talk to me, bedrooms, bathrooms, locations, home specifications. Let's do a hopes and dreams call. Let's run a full-blown analysis. When we do our interest rate locks, right? It's either Mortgage Coach or MBS Highway, depending on what I say. MBS Highway is a little bit more dimmed down. Mortgage Coach is a little bit more higher level, depending on the consumer. But we're doing that. Then we're taking that articulation, plugging it into ChatGPT, explaining it, and then taking Gamma, making a custom PowerPoint presentation for the client and sharing it. So it's like bang, bang, bang. So if you didn't get it versus the MBS Highway comparison or Mortgage Coach, now we're going to articulate it even simpler through ChatGPT. And even then, if you still didn't get it, here's a beautiful custom PowerPoint presentation that you thought took me about 30 minutes or an hour. It took me about 2 minutes to do so. And when you're hitting it, man, I mean, it's reducing the number of PEs, right, from a high level perspective. So you're not PEing a lot of stuff. You're not giving price exceptions. You're able to simultaneously, you know, remain profitable, while also obviously delivering the message super clear, right? Now, the consumer is not the only one who's getting those feedbacks. The agents are a part of those communication channels as well, right? We like to do it always. We like to do it always on Zoom too, when those breakdowns are being done. I'm a big AI note taker, so whether you're using Zoom AI, I like Fireflies personally. But you know, you're using that, you're recording the conversation, and then now when you're done, if the realtor jumped on the call or did not, now they're also getting that summarized version of the convo, and they're like, holy shit, this is really cool, right? And I also use it as a reference person, coming back to my legal background, where it's like, well, you can't tell me you didn't know that we were locking at 6.25, paying a point and a half, when I told you go 6.75, don't pay no points. It's kind of right there, right?
Fireflies determined that was a lie, you know.
Exactly. So it's cool, right? You have fun with it. There's always, I will always share this. The same thing I said last week is, you got to be cautious on not trying to do everything at the same time, right? Whether it's even social media, right? It's like, pick one potential outlet that you're going to do really well. You know, double down on it, focus on it, and when you've kind of learned to master that one individual platform, then move on to the next, right? Like for me, it's usually Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. TikTok is cool, but I haven't just personally. I think it's a different audience that I may have not necessarily either honed in on, or just I kind of like really pushed back a little bit when I started seeing that it's going to get banned, and then it was like this. And I think the audience, seeing just the metrics, was like a super, super, super younger crowd, like 21 and under. So I might have been targeting the wrong crowd or whatever, but I think just with Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and then LinkedIn on the recruiting side, I think I'm doubling down on that, and then maybe eventually TikTok or something will be something that we could add into our tool belt. So,
Hell yeah. I got we're coming up on a half hour. I don't want to go like too much longer. I got one more question from my end though that might take us into a little bit, which is just like I mean, I'm super to me, like you're throwing out all the names of these AI platforms that Frazier and I are super aware of. Some of our audience might not be, but to me, I'm like, dude, this is the originator of the future. I love this shit. So I would love your take, like, on just, and this could be inside the mortgage business, outside the mortgage business, like doesn't matter to me. I just want to know, like, as somebody who is obviously a forward thinker, as somebody who's obviously like on the cutting edge, like, what are you focused on right now? What is like the next chapter of your business, your financial future? Like, what does it look like? What are you investing in going forward, that you can kind of parlay as like wisdom to anybody who's listening right now?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're at a point in our career where it's increasing more branches. So opening up another branch right now, looking to double down more, building systems where a loan officer can truly just come in, plug and play, right? The systems are there on the background. We're watching every dollar. We're understanding where everything is done. But I brought it back and I said it very quickly. It's sales, service, support, right? And we break it down in that order. Where if you're an originator and you get a pre-approval, right? There's a full-blown engagement checklist that our admins, whether it's our VAs or in-house LOAs, are going to be doing for you as an extension of you, right? Whether it's, hey, you got a client, boom, whether it's through Blend or Encompass or whatever LOS that you're using, it's you got it in. We do soft credit authorizations for every client up front that the consumer prepays. So that in and of itself is a you talk to a typical loan officer who may not do it. They're like, dude, how can you get the client to do it? And I'm like, well, you're explaining the urgency and how much of a blessing it is for us to do this, right? Hey, your pre-approval is not going to expire, right? Because it's a soft check. Hard inquiry is going to expire after $120. You're not going to get annoyed with spam calls, which let's see how that changes March 6th, right? Mm-hmm. You're getting credited back, right? We do $60. It's credited back on the closing disclosure. So it's not really a cost to your application. Yeah. And the most important part, Mr. Client, is if I can get your credit score from 650 to maybe a 680, and you're now in a different bucket of an LLPA, now I might actually save you over the long length of the loan, almost like $20,000 in interest. Do you think that would be something of value for you? Now, if you sit there and you say, hey, you got to pay the $60 so I can get through your application, the communications, your average consumer is going to be, why the fuck would I do that? I bought a house 10 years ago and I never had to do that. Well, the market's different, right? We never had to do this 2 years ago, right? Yep. But also 2 years ago, your credit pull was like what?
$30 for a tri-merge, yeah.
For the whole cost. Yep. Now it's 300 plus. So what I'm focusing on, extensively is just, coaching, collaboration, and community, right? Is how can I coach my loan officers? How can I coach my partners? How can I coach my referral partners on just understanding where's the loss of communication, or where is there that we could sit there and try to make everything so seal-proofed that things won't get missed, right? The community is huge. I'm so heavily invested in the community, from sponsoring baseball games to my kids' football games to softball to, swimming to MMA. My kid's going to check out Frankie Edgar's, MMA place today, just because he's a pain in the ass. And I'm like, all right, well, I can't discipline it anymore. So let me do what I did with my daughter and put him in MMA and let them learn the discipline avenue of it. Let them learn that stuff. So, and then the last thing, again, is just collaboration, right? It's a big focus on us, whether I'm going to collaborate with a real estate agent, when I'm collaborating with a loan officer, whether it's with a financial advisor, and how can I continuously start thinking? I know for a fact that the troubles and issues that I may probably have, you're probably having the same thing to an extent, right? And if I could sit there and kind of make it bulletproof where we could lean on one another too, I know my systems are not flawless. And I know your systems might not be flawless. And you might think, well, you got everything dialed down, right? You got your sales in, you got your service in, you got your support in, you're awesome. And I'm like, no, we're not, right? There's stuff that are always going to slip through the cracks. And anyone who says it's not, you're full of shit, right? 10 months ago, we missed 2 different contracts, literally heading into closing, where the buyer had to pay a portion of the buyer's agent's commission because it was all brand new. And contracts didn't have it like it does now, where it's in the actual table and it's right under. So we missed one. So immediately it was like 3 different checkpoints, from the initial disclosures to, submission to right when you're sending for a CTC, to double check that. So now we've never had an issue to do so, right? title missed it, attorney missed it, everybody, because it was something brand new, right? So we're sitting there and learning from the mistakes, and that's my goal, right, with our originators is, hey, I recommend, I'm not going to sit there and be like, all right, lock yourself in a room and time block from 10 to 1. This works for every originator. It might not, right? You might be stuck with having to pick up a kid, or you might be stuck. I don't really work with part-time loan officers. There's nothing wrong with them, but knowing me and how I'm all in, right? Eyes open to eyes shut, Monday to Monday. There is no like, oh, well, this. Now, there's obviously a balance, right? My weekend time, I don't want to do open house. It's not a good thing. I always fight with myself on it. But I have my team heavily invested in, hey, agent wants to do an open house. She had reached out. I'm going to send one of my originators to do so. And then we're doing list reports. We're creating a whole full-blown campaign. We do list reports for every single agent, non-negotiable, whether they connect or not. My team, 9, 12, and 3, 9 o'clock, 12 o'clock, and 3 o'clock, because the listings are hitting the MLS sporadically. And they're doing those custom list reports on behalf of our team and asking them, hey, can we have one of our loan officers come in? And quite a few respond. And then you kind of throw it into the pond and say, hey, Charles Darwin, survival of the fittest, who wants it? So we've kind of built that, but that's kind of where my vision's at, is continue to integrate the tools, continue to scale the tools and find out what's working, what's not working, right? And then truly just focus on, all right, you're an originator. Are you going to be consumer direct, or are you going to be partner relationship? There's nothing wrong with both models, but understanding if you're consumer direct, you're probably going to have to operate at a tighter margin, right? Just part of the game. The clients are not going to really too much value your advice if you're getting them from ABC or XYZ online domain. Or you might be really good at cultivating that, or you might have the ability to do so, right? So it's kind of, what's the benefit of you, and how can we help you from a branch perspective, from a management perspective, plugging you in with my originators, right? We're tracking like weekly credit reports. So the LO who's doing, the most credit pulls, we're simultaneously watching that. So at the end of the month, the LO who has the most credit pulls, I will personally recommend you a real estate partner for you to collaborate with us, and you'll jump on for the next month, every deal that we close with them as a co-originator, right? So you're rewarding them with those incentives, while at the same time, you're just hyper-focused in the trenches at the same time, actually telling them, dude, want you to do this because I did this just yesterday, and it's yielding the results. It's not the stuff that I did 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 3 years ago that are working. The market is constantly evolving, and you need to evolve at the same time, or you'll find yourself out of the business.
Man, I'm right a lot, kind of getting tired of being right. And I said, dude was an operator when we started, and Abdel, dude, you are a fucking operator, man. I love it. Love everything I talked about. I had another question, but Michael, it covered everything that what Michael was asking, covered that. And man, like, it's funny when I originally envisioned like the style of the MLO project, what I equate, like, cause look, anyone, we could interview people and that's great. And like, there's value in that. But I think about like when we go to like events, like mortgage events, and you meet like an LO for the first time, everyone's just around talking shop and just going over shit, like what's working, what's not working. How are you guys, like, you seeing this, whatever, like before we came on about talking about recension and, stuff like that. But like, that's what this episode was, right? It was just a conversation, like, meeting really and having a conversation for the first time. And you brought massive value. And I'm telling you right now, all of you in the audience, if you didn't think you learned something, you learned something, right? And if not, go back and watch it again. Hopefully you guys are watching the podcast and using AI notes to do it. Like I do that. Right? I use a lot of different tools like Granola, so that way all the audio comes in, gives me a spit out of all of that stuff. Because you're going to learn something, right? Like you're going to learn whether systems, processes, tracking, right? Like communication, relationships, connecting, like you just covered the whole gamut, man. And so I just appreciate your time, man. I appreciate you sharing, just being an open book, sharing, having a conversation with us, talking about your business and that, man. But we'll put I'll give you like a chance to just like tell you like how to connect with you, but we'll put your socials in the show notes when we launch this episode. But yeah, man, like if someone wants to connect with you, how do they get in touch? Like what's the preferred method?
Yeah. I mean, listen, I'm definitely not afraid to be found online. You search our first name and last name, which I'm sure you guys probably did.
Yeah.
Google came up, Zillow came up and all that. But gotmortgages.com, my email, ak@gotmortgages.com. You know, if you guys ever need to collaborate conversations, you know, recommended tech stacks and all that stuff, we're constantly innovating. One of the biggest benefits of PRMG in and of itself, right, is you know, we're finding all those tools, right, and then we just literally provide it to the loan officers, and it's like, dude, add it to your tool belt or don't, right? And I sit there and ask my loan officers, like, hey, I'm doing this. What is your process, right, when you're going to lock a client, right? Is it just like my old way? I would literally just snip. So we're retail, so I would snip just Optimal Blue at the time and just be like, yo, these are your rates. Pick what you want, right? Yep. Broker might be a little different, or you could obviously build it in, whatever it is. Yep. But and then I started saying, all right, well, then there was always confusion. Like table 1 was the rate, table 2, why is this not 100? Why does it say 98? Why do I have to do 2 points? So you start like implementing it, and then you start using Mortgage Coach or MBS Highway. And then again, I would notice my consumers, and it depends on just maybe my audience or the way I was delivering the message, understood a little bit more on the MBS Highway side, maybe the Mortgage Coach side. And then some of my higher analytical consumers maybe were geared a little bit more into Mortgage Coach, right? So I think the biggest thing is if you're an originator out there, and your branch manager or your region or branch managers in and of itself, right? Sit back and find out what are the tools that I have readily available for my originators, or what are the tools that I can go out and get for my originators, and then watch them, right? From every dollar, from every investment, from every, you know, potential consumer, it's refi season, right? So we have to do that, right? Or we're going to get gobbled up by the servicers, yep. Right? So if I could sit there and give that added master value, I've literally had clients say, the only reason why I went with your rate is you took the time to explain to me the options, and ABC company has given me about a quarter of a point to half a point better, but I've never heard from them until it was time to refi. As opposed to you had like box and bestow gifts that went out. You put me in home report, so I knew my value. You put me in FinLocker with Brian, his team, so I knew what was happening. I stayed on
Shout
top
out to FinLocker.
Yeah. So you had that stuff there, right? And my relationship with the tech partners is they're constantly calling me, right? I'm constantly on the phone with Brian and Eric and MBS Highway. And I'm like, yo, this is how I'm using it. But again, it's don't lose the focus of the consumer, right? Because then we're no different than those nameless companies that we all know that were like, damn, they just gobbled up a servicing company, or yep. They just merged with a different. There's no difference in you if you're just saying that stuff. But if you have the tech platforms, and nobody can replace though you as the originator, as a communicator. And if you combine the two, I guarantee you'll be that modern day originator and you'll crush the competition.
Awesome. And speaking of FinLocker, shout out to Brian View for getting recently promoted to going over to Mismo, being the president of Mismo. Yeah. So we'll have Brian on, and I was texting with him earlier so he could catch me up and have him on the show to talk about that. But hey, man. Hey, thanks again for coming on the show. And Michael, you got your big boy pants on to do the wrap, or you ready to wrap this one up? No?
Let's go. Yeah. No,
all right, wrap us up.
You were expecting me to say no, weren't you?
Well, the last 2 times you turned off your camera and just disconnected. So
oh shit.
Wrap us up. Take us home.
No, man. I loved to wrap us up. I think the last, point, the biggest takeaway was when I asked you like what you're focused on, the focus was timeless principles. So even the person who's on the cutting edge, the person that's talking about all these tech tools, implementing all these tech tools, when we asked what you're focused on, it was the timeless principles. And so loved that, man. Thank you so much for jumping on, for being with us. We'd love to have you back sometime soon with an update on your business, what's going on with recruiting at PRMG. But until then, man, really appreciate having you here. And with that, guys, thank you for listening. If you aren't watching this on YouTube, check it out on YouTube. I think we've got like all but maybe 2 or 3 of our episodes that we're still tracking down and getting uploaded. So all that's on YouTube, Instagram. Follow us there, subscribe. And with that, guys, thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time.
Appreciate you guys.
Awesome. Thanks, everyone. And remember, this is the MLO Project, empowered by Empower LO, and we'll see you at the top. Take care.